My name's Peggy Oberthier, and I'm a medical intuitive based in Melbourne, Australia. I am so excited to welcome today's guest, Taoist Master San Qing. He's a Taoist priest, channeler, healer, teacher, author, and podcast host with more than 30 years of experience. As a 66th and 126th generation Taoist lineage holder, he carries forward a deep tradition while making it accessible to people all over the world. With his direct access to the spirit realm, he's helped countless people discover their true potential as a human being, showing them that the impossible is possible. Now, I've been sitting here for the last hour having an amazing chat to San, and the energy is palpable. I feel already elevated and expanded. Welcome to the show, San.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very grateful to be home with family, and that's how it feels right now.
Oh yeah. Well, we have met before. You have been my master. I realize that. Now we've had the most amazing conversation for the past hour and 15 minutes, and we should have been recording the whole time. But I want to start with like I think so many people have heard your story, your incredible story. Sydney. And if you haven't, just watch any of his 50 podcasts where he tells this incredible journey. I wanted to kind of get down to the nitty gritty though, because my journey of discovering who I am has not been linear. And your story just sounds so expansive and so incredible. I wanted to know, like, what were some of the challenges for you? What were some of the oh my God, because you discovered you're a channeler, you're all knowing, all healing, like this miracle worker. It felt like in an instant. But where was the sort of was there any dark night of the soul? Was there any
Well,
doubt? Was
yeah,
there Tell me
yeah.
about
I mean, I mean, the
tell the
dark,
listeners tell the
well,
listeners
the
about
dark,
that.
yeah, well, the dark night of the soul really happened after the epiphany, one after the other. That whole week, from stopping sound all the way through to distant healing, clairvoyance, watching physical healings, all that took place, and then it turned to an avalanche, a shitstorm that went on for about 7 days. Where back
Wow.
in those days we didn't have cell phones; it was rotary phones, so I couldn't get hold of anyone or any teacher to give me guidance. I was just having every thought, every feeling, every emotion at once, literally
Wow.
like a shitstorm. And so I couldn't even distract myself. It was so overwhelming, the information, because everywhere I could look would be information. I'd be walking down the street and all the auric fields of everything and anything was substantive. So I would walk into other people's auric fields and bounce off them and feel all their experiences, see all their mental, emotional, physical stuff. And imagine you're a computer screen with 1,000 icons. That's what I was experiencing. And it was so overwhelming that I'd close my eyes and wake up and it didn't go anywhere. It just got worse. And the more I would feed into it, the more emotions would come up, the more feelings would come up, the more thoughts would come up. And halfway through the week, I just wanted to kill myself. I was literally like, I'm good. I'd never experienced this type of, like, I'd heard people talk about depression and all that kind. I was like, I'm not a depressed guy. I don't know what that is. Well, I experienced it in that week, and I would do things like going to the movies, trying to get sort of distracted, and I'd see something as benign as a naked woman on the screen, and I would throw up. Like,
What?
what is going on here? I mean, who would throw up over some person being naked on a movie screen? But I threw up on the person in front of me at that particular time, and it was like it's a visceral purging of everything, and we all experience it as we're going through our own spiritual remembrance. But it was so physical that everything that could possibly happen happened, and then I came out the other side, and at the time my teacher was like, "Oh my goodness, this is what we call a breaking. People want this. People die for this. People would cut their hands off." I'm like, "You're out of your mind. There's no freaking way I would sign up for that. I wouldn't." It's like, it seems like a
Wow.
sort of a fantasy in a glamorous way, where you go off into the Alps, or you're in some cave and you're cultivating away your own spiritual self. And I want the death of all these horrible facets of themselves. But quite frankly, no. Sorry, no, I'm good, and I'm not going to get. I'm not signing up for another one. Thanks. I
So it
felt a
only
little bit.
it only lasted a week though. And so and was there any like, and sort of then it just kind of keep going up, or
It
did you have
just
any more?
it was just like once that finished, it was like the gateways open to everything. I was like,
Wow.
I remember specifically, it was like that finished, and then the following day I sat down to do readings because I did one a week before on my teacher, and he freaked out because he couldn't believe. He's like, "Ah, this idiot's not going to know. Look, this is what you do." And he freaked out. I was like, I ousted him out of a closet, and he couldn't believe someone could access that information. I mean, you're teaching people this stuff. Of course, it's real. And
Mhm.
so it was a week after the big event, the so-called Dark Night of the Soul, and this woman was like petrified. She was doing the class, and she was a psychologist. And I was sitting there, and I was reading her field, and I went, "Oh shit, you really need to stop what you're doing. You are so broad." Like Tourette's, it was just coming out of my mouth. I was like, "Man, you've got so many problems. How can you be someone that claims that they're helping people solve?" And she starts bawling, going, "This guy should not be able to have this type of access to information. Who is he? He needs to be removed." And I'm like, this is where you know you hit dead on. And you
Mm.
understand this as you are a healer. You recognize that you don't need the validation of the recipient. You can see it. And it's like what we need to really get in tune with is recognizing, is it necessary to share all of the sum of all things, or just parts that would be most relevant to that person's remembrance? And you tend to condition yourself to start to go, I don't need to tell people that they have, they're wearing underwear that they had from 3 weeks ago, or, this kind of stuff. But it gets that way. And you're like, they want to just be loved. They want to be whole. They want to be valued, respected, honored. These types of things come in because it's part of the human expression. Now,
So have you kind of altered the way you work? Because obviously you had this all-knowing deep realization of, remembering who you were, and then you just went bang, big slap in the face to that lady, just telling her the hard truth. And so now you're saying you don't necessarily, you kind of filter it because you want to meet people with a bit more unconditional love and be a bit gentler, or do you
well,
just,
well,
or
it's
do you, when you see someone, you're just like, not this guy needs that, he needs the laser beam.
well, sometimes you got to shake the tree, right?
Yeah.
Like, because it doesn't matter how many times you tell someone they're in a transcendental state of unawareness, not awareness. And so it depends on what the remedy is for that person. But
Hmm.
generally speaking, I'm not going to go in and go, you've got all these problems. I mean, because it's so enticing, feeling like you're all powerful and you have all this information. You want to, oh, I want to tell you that you've got this problem, that problem, this problem. That's the easy part.
Hmm.
The part that you really need to help them remember is that they are whole, that they are perfect, they are all powerful. And love is actually one facet. It's not the whole diamond, but most people tend to water it down to being the ultimate effect, which is part of the jigsaw puzzle. And I think a lot of people want that to be the hallmark. Oh, love, it's all perfect. No, it's more a virtue signaling for most people because that's how they find themselves to be whole. Well, it must be love. Well, show me what love is, because love right now, to just, if you capture someone in a moment, it's so subjective. Love to one person might be razor blades and bunny rabbits, and the other one might be unicorns and sunbeams. And until you raise their resonance high enough where they are completely void of all this stuff, and it's just unconditional servitude and selflessness, now we've got a universal
Okay.
band.
So
It's a
that's the,
universal band.
okay, so
Yeah.
it's not love, it's unconditional servitude.
Servitude and selflessness.
So
And
explain that a little bit more, because I mean, I've always sort of, I'm sort of thinking it's like unconditional love, but I
right,
have never heard of it like this. So I want you to
right.
expand on that, please.
Yeah, yeah. So, we normally use 3 phases of awareness, and it starts with love because it's subjective until otherwise noted. You know what you know, you don't know what you don't know, and this is a constant, right? So let's start with the baseline of love, and then the quick jump up from that is gratitude. You can
Hmm.
shake someone's hand, you can give someone a compliment, give them $5, and all of a sudden they're going to know how to emanate gratitude.
Hmm.
They're there. And ultimately, from gratitude, you create acceptance. And it's a band of awareness.
Acceptance.
Elementary,
Acceptance of what?
my dear
My dear
Watson.
Watson. So acceptance of what? Like of
Of
every,
every
like
of
of
everything.
everything. Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
everything. If I
Everything.
look, if I turn around and go, fuck your kid, fuck your mother, go fuck yourself, you might have a second to go, what? What did you just say? No, no, go fuck yourself and your mother on Sunday. Whoa. And I get that. I know that I'm doing my job when someone goes, oh, another foul-mouthed spiritual grifter. Jesus says, and I'm like, oh, you lost me at Jesus says.
Hang on,
There
you're
you go.
sidetracking set. Let's go back to the selflessness and the
Right. And so the acceptance
yeah.
is really remembering that you are all these things. I am you, you are me. What is there to spit polish? What is there to polish but accepting and allowing all things as they stand? And when you start to understand that within that band of resonance, you become all-knowing. Everything will turn up, just like my teacher, Jade Emperor, will say, when you accept, you know nothing. You will know everything.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I guess that's what surrender is, isn't it? It's just that.
Well, yeah, it's like surrender is where I call it the sacrifice. From selfishness, you find selflessness, which requires the sacrifice, which is not the puckered up sacrifice of oh my goodness, I've got to take my shirt off my back. I have to dissolve of all my worldly possessions. That's all nonsense. You can be a multifaceted billionaire and be as happy as a pig in shit and be helping others remember who they are. It's nothing more than a simulation. Your personality should never be erased. It's not a good idea. I have a personality that likes chocolate bonbons, riding my side by side in the desert 100 miles an hour, and I still subscribe to Netflix. That is a deficiency of mine, but I'm not required to participate when it comes to the resonance. And that's the part where people want to erase their personality when that works independently of this system. You're the avatar holding a node of resonance that does not require your participation. And that's the part that's conflicting, because it's only in the feeling that you can get that. So
when you say what participation of what? So you're saying I'm an
your
avatar?
Personality.
Okay. So I'm an avatar floating in space or whatever.
Well, your avatar is your physical body, right?
Yeah, so that's my physical body.
Right. And that holds the spirit. That gives the spirit immediate, eminent connection with this material state. And so what you think and feel doesn't matter. It's irrelevant to holding that resonance. That's where you go into a situation where you see a guru, or you go and hang out with a presence. You're in a room and you're like, holy shit. And this goes back to what you're talking about, where people are transmitting Brahman or whatnot. They're sitting there like, This is a resonance that precedes whatever your personality is attempting to manipulate. So it's a conditioning. So you can go and see someone like Sadhguru, who actually is quite cheeky and a little bit of a child, which we all should be. Remember that we are childlike in our nature. And then you water down all the other nonsense of the personality that feels as though they have to grow up and be this stoic adult instead of being childlike, and everything is giddy and silly and whimsical, because that's the true nature of who you are. That every day you wake up, it's like the first day you ever woke up. And so when you condition the resonance, your personality will work independently. So how do
you condition the resonance? Like how does just your lay person who might be watching this show, or we have a lot of people who are healers or in the mentorship or whatever that watch this show. So it's like, okay, you talk about remembering who you are, you talk about selflessness, you talk about resonance and everything. Well, what are sort of some of the practical steps? Because we were talking about this before I started recording. How do I remember who I am?
Right. So there's a point of no return where you detach and then attach as all things.
What am I detaching from?
when you're detaching from the idea that everything is made up of thought, feeling, and emotion, as this is the substance. Because in your simulation, you believe that that's the reality. And when you detach, there's a moment of void where you literally nothing moves the needle. It doesn't matter what it is. When you have brushed up against that threshold of conditioning, you will snap off and you'll feel like it's some rock that fell off a cliff and there's no end to the bottomless pit of Alice in Wonderland. This is part of when you really know you've hit dead center. And so for me, even right now, nothing moves the needle if I choose it to, especially I am battle tested. When it comes down to physical healing or meeting that present moment, I'll get down with the get down at any second.
What do you mean by that?
Well, because it's like most people lose their shit. They detach from their body. They're so afraid of what's actually happening, whether it's like someone is sick, someone got hit by a car, you're witnessing some horrible, heinous crime that's taken place on humanity, someone being executed, someone got run over by a car, your house burnt down, all this kind of stuff. I'm like this.
Yeah.
So because that's not who I am. And so I can be. Go ahead.
So I was just thinking, so they have forgotten who they are. So they're right. Stuck in the story. They're stuck in this simulation. And you're at this
they
sort
have
of
their own version.
Yeah.
They have their own version.
And you're at this sort of still point, what are the Tao? How does the Tao refer
well,
to that?
It's what we call the Wu Ji, the primordial mother.
Yeah, the primordial mother.
Right,
okay,
right.
yeah.
And so from that gateway of the Wu Ji, it opens up the doorway to Wu Wei, which is effortless action, effortless effort. It is a serendipitous, synchronistic moment of, it's good to be me. It's always good to be me.
So there's literally no resistance. You just, you have to still plan, but you don't no plan.
No, there's no need to plan everything. I am abundant, timeless, endless, limitless, infinite. And when you recognize you are these things, you are nothing at the same time. So you never meet it with I am the I am. That is the biggest head fuck that you've ever heard before. Like anyone that says I am the I am is immediately diffused. It's like two positives don't make a negative or two negatives don't make a positive.
I see what you mean. Okay. Because you have to say I am, then you're actually then canceling out that I am. It's like the fact that you have to even say that is the problem.
Yes.
You already the I am.
Right. And so if I had to sum it up as a description, when I experience as this present moment, and that's the only time I've ever witnessed anything, right? So it would be a culmination of past, present, and future, all at this node point. I don't identify. There's no identity. If I had to dumb it down to a description, there's no identity. Nothing has purpose. Nothing has title. All I'm doing is holding a resonance and witnessing a transmutation of whatever that is. So when it comes to my mind as a thought process, I'm not sitting here going, I need to call in my angels and I want the light of Jesus Christ consciousness to come in and heal this person. That's you've lost. You're done. Because the actual fact that I am the mother, the animation. Now, for the audience, this is what we call metaphysics of Tao. So within Taoism, it's quite simple. The void, the mother, the primordial mother is the animation to everything. That animation animates consciousness. Consciousness animates the spirit. Spirit animates the energy. Energy animates the body or the material state, which is a different variable. So now you're contorting the variable, you're distorting the variable with your attention intention. That evokes the spirit within this realm. All of a sudden, immortality is now possible in a material deficient three-dimensional state. You're bringing in something that will create wholeness from something that's deficient. This has a frequency. This has a frequency. You and I have frequencies. Our bodies are different. The material, the camera, everything, it all has a different distortion level. But when you evoke the spirit, we call it the Shen, or what furthermore Shen Gong, which is spirit power, you are whole. That means that you are able to manipulate this reality any way you choose to. So when I am the primordial mother, as such, I am nothing. that remember that I am all things and nothing. So the second you bring up I am something, you will return to nothing. But from that, because of the conditioning, and this is what we'll get into, you are able to instantly alter things. So it's not like I have to think about it. So if someone comes to me and goes, grandma needs a healing, I don't give a shit what grandma's name is or wherever it is. It's already taken place. And this is where a lot of people freak out. They're like, oh, grandma needs a healing. That's enough. We're good. She's good.
Okay, so like, how does that? But hang on. How does that work, San? How does that work?
Because I don't have to test anything anymore. I'm 100% battle tested and proven over and over again, consciously.
So I
don't need any validation of any kind from anybody. I know what the truth is.
Okay, so knowing the truth. So this person just says, I want a healing. And it's sort of like, is there a higher self in Taoism? Like their higher self is talking to your higher self, and then your higher...
That would be the spirit, right?
The spirit, okay.
So I can slow down anything, right? Or if you want to slow it down, like everything happens instantly. You know, some of the most profound experiences that I've ever witnessed happen like in one fraction of a second. All it is attention, intention, and you have a miracle. Someone comes out of a coma.
What about my eyes? Can you heal my eyes live on air?
Hey, can you heal yourself?
Yeah. Can I heal myself?
Right.
Yes, I can. Okay.
Exactly. Part of this is like recognizing that you have to, the reason where most healers get caught up is that they go and they spend their own goodwill, being their life force. Yeah. Someone gets some miracle that has some ability where they're healing, they're experiencing a healing, whatever it is. Bones, fuse, eyes, whatever. The second that happens, 3 days later, they're like, oh, fuck it. It didn't work. It was working, it didn't work. And you've heard this a dozen times, I guarantee you. This is what healers go, that this is a constant problem because it leads with the identity. And so you get an event where someone comes to you, I need healing, I need this. And then 3 days later, they're like, well, it didn't stick or it didn't work because they're not 100% cooked.
So you can only bring, and this is I've noticed in some of my clients that like I can, there's a frequency, they feel expanded, they sleep really well, their pain's gone, and then it comes back. And so you're saying that it's them, they have to recognize that they are completely whole and that they are not broken.
Well, it's not about recognize they're whole. They have to be able to hold the resonance.
How do they hold the resonance? What are some of the practices?
That can be instantaneous. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I experienced it instantaneously. I've seen it 1,000 times myself. But the truth is, you have to not give a shit about anything.
You have the resistance.
There is a resistance there where you already go beyond the knowing, and so knowing turns into wisdom when you experience it. And so
that's really interesting. So the more resistance that they have to the condition that they have, it could be back pain.
It's also part of the healer's path too, because you only meet the equal resonance that you're already acquiring yourself. So whatever comes in your path is going to be a constant reminder of what you do not want to let go of.
Isn't that interesting? Yes. It happens all the time.
It's just going to be like the same old. Oh, so I have another? You want more, boy? Yeah.
Yes, please. Yes, give me another one. Yeah. Give me another serve of self-worth issues. Yeah, I'll take it.
Right.
Yeah. It's funny because it's always the clients usually reflect whatever's happening for the day, and that's not a lie. Like that is just whatever the theme of the week is, right? I'm like, oh, this is interesting, and then I get client after client after client. I'm like, maybe it's me.
Well, I mean, I always say this. It's like I used to do exorcisms back in the day, all day, every day. It was like my favorite, one of my fun things to do.
Yeah.
And 80s and 90s, it was a big thing. Now, probably the last 10 years, I haven't seen one. Only because I don't mention, every time I mention exorcism, I get a trail of like 10 people that want an exorcism.
Yes, that's what happens.
Generally speaking, I don't see it. Someone that might have a psychotic episode 20 years ago when I'm doing a healing on them or an exorcism, is just helping them understanding their own operating system and how to actually turn the buttons on and off. And
Okay,
what happens is, as you unravel what would be perceived as an entity that's a succubus feeding from their life force, you recognize you have the power over that it was a construct that was being created by your own version of your reality. Your belief system was met with a remembrance that was basically an experience that validated that evil exists because this is part of your program. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what's your process for exorcism then? So basically, it's part of this programming that there is something evil and dark, and that has to be part of the avatars, the avatars software programming. Going, I can get an entity and I can get a demon.
Well, yeah, people get all excited about that stuff. They get obsessed. It's a Hollywood thing. You know,
yeah, well, I see, I think when my first podcast, it was like, you remove demons, and then I just got like all these people with entities and demons, and I was like, what the, it was full on. So tell me, what's your process for, I mean, aside from just, being,
right.
What is the process
to
what is the exorcism? How does it work for you? Like from a Taoist perspective, like what is an exorcism? Yeah.
Okay. So if I got back in the day where I was using the handbook from the monastery, this is exorcism A. There's actually about 9 different exorcisms you can complete through what you diagnose from the experience. So it depends on what kind of entity that is. It's a variable that is different phases of the consciousness of the recipient and the initiatory moment where they are recognizing that they are being fed to this succubus. And the succubus is furthermore implemented through a conditioning of their own belief system. That's why, Asia is a landscape of superstition, and we tend to go deep into that because it's part of the history and the identity of the culture. And, I tend to erase that quite quickly when I come across people, and a lot of the people that I work with are from an Asian culture.
Okay, so part of your process is helping them de-identify with their story that they have an entity. How does it work?
Well, first it starts with that. You create a construct. So let's just start with identify a possessed individual. They come to me, they're like, oh, I've got all these issues. I have night sweats. I'm getting repetitive thoughts. I have headaches. These are a lot of the very telltale signs of very simplistic sort of entities that are feeding on a surface level. They normally sit within a lower level of the energy centers, i.e., if we're talking about chakras, they will feed from the first to third chakra, most identifiably the third chakra, which is the soul, the solus, right? So the diaphragm. This is where within Taoism, we call that the yellow cord. That's where the energy and the emotions enter into this cauldron, and they get disseminated to the organs that are necessary for them to consume whatever it is that is being used. Anger, fear, frustration, anxiety, depression, sadness. They all have a different category, they have a different organ that they get categorized in. And then part of the conditioning is being able to find the emotion to virtue. And as you condition it out of the body, the emotion leaves and the virtue is revealed. And so when you're looking at someone who's possessed, these are all variables that take place. And normally I'll cut right to the bullshit and start talking with the entity that is specifically feeding from that individual. That takes me a few seconds to drop someone into a state where they can be completely void of a third-party communication. So if I had to describe it from a technical perspective, you would refer to that as a somnambulistic state. And so that is within a hypnagogic framework, something that is in a deep state of epsilon, which goes beyond. Okay,
you got to speak English for some.
Okay, so
what's hypnagogic mean, and what
for framework of brainwaves? If you want to start digesting this from a scientism perspective, I'm taking someone in a brainwave state that is high beta, which is generally fueled by anxiety that might have external forces, being it food, stimulus, alcohol, caffeine, these types of things exacerbate the current position of the individual that's being possessed.
Yeah.
Then that state of complete frail sort of awareness, where they're so fragile that they break under any pressure or circumstance because of the brainwave state they're emanating, and the entity is feeding from that. So then you go to beta, alpha, theta, delta, and I would have them in epsilon, which is how you get
I
self
see.
completely.
Okay.
And so epsilon can go straight up to gamma. So you can
Yeah,
have
yeah.
complete dominion over conscious and unconscious process.
But you're
And so
just, are you
of,
are you actually, like, when you're sitting there with that person doing that,
yeah.
you're not going, I'm going to do this. It just happens. That's just your
Well,
presence.
that's where it's at right now. But if
Yeah.
I had to go back to the apprentice level 36 years ago, sure, I'll give you the processes.
I see.
Because
Okay.
everything is a
Yeah.
conditioned state. Does that take place when I go, yeah, it's happened? Yeah. But these
Yeah.
are the slowed down phases of
I
what
see.
all this stuff is. But you have to, it's like getting licks in the gym, right? You have to be able to condition yourself for just like, oh, I want to do squats for the first time. Okay. And you do 10 squats, and the next day you go, holy shit, I feel completely fucked up. I can't even, like, it kind of sounds like my 13-year-old that I made him do like 50 squats, just free squats the other day. And he's like, I can do 100, Dad. Da, da, da. And then 3 days later, he's like, I can't move. Oh my goodness. Yeah, good luck. Welcome to the club, son. This is what we call delay onset of muscle soreness. There you go. You got some DOMs in you. Don't worry about it, mate. And so part of that conditioning is recognizing these phases, right? And so if you want to get into something as simplistic as a hypnagogic state, when I say that, I'm just using that as a word for you to understand that you are in a trance. Everything is a phase of trance. There isn't an exception to the rule. When you get into your medical intuitive state, you are in a band of energy that gives you information.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You are holding that resonance, and you're able to go, oh, and it's like a natural thing for you. You recognize, oh my goodness, there's this pathway, and I seem to easily fall into it. And the second I go, good, oh, holy crap, I can feel it's visceral, it's tangible, it's palpable. You are conditioning yourself. But recognize that without the whole runway and your whole infrastructure humming as whole, you're always going to tap in. You're always going to be, as my mother would say, robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're going to take these things, and you're going to come up a little short. And then you'll be like, man, I did 5 healings this week, and I can't do another one, man. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with anyone this week. It's just I'm topped out.
Well, we were talking about this before the show about what happens to my body in healing, and you've been giving some interesting tips. So it's so like you spoke about, so you remove this entity, and then the person is just instantly healed, and instant. Yeah, that's my understanding of it. And you spoke about like what I can see when I'm working with people with an entity, there's a distortion there. There's a contraction. There is a childhood trauma. It could be from when they were 40 and they went through a divorce and they never spoke up. But I do see a lot of it in the solar plexus. So you say that's your experience as well. It's like this emotional thing that they're feeding on the entity.
Well, that's just the entry level from a Taoist alchemical process. But
yeah, that's what I see that too. Yeah.
It's interesting how you do that, just remembering you were a Taoist in the past life. Hey, whoa.
Yes,
so these nodes are coming up, right? So you recognize there's a conditioning there. Now you just need to learn the architecture even more. So it's like, okay, I've been feeling into it. Oh, I was meant to connect with San Qing so I could remember the actual architecture through a processes where we refer to this the method to the madness.
So
because once you have a method.
So talk to the audience a little bit, because we've got a lot of people who listen who are healers and have done the mentorship or interested in it, and also people who have and feel and see energy. So you spoke about helping me build up my architecture, And this is where you're going to plug your book now, San, because this is
Yeah,
what
there
you're here
you
for.
go. Look at
Hey,
that.
the
I'll get
book.
back there again.
Yay,
Hey.
the book. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that I recall that would help me build my architecture so that I am this limitless being of, service and my body's not affected and I'm not burping. So we spoke
Right,
about
right,
this at
right,
length
right.
before the show.
Yeah, so conditioning, you have a process of protection and clearing. You probably use it, whatever that might be, a method or a system that you use. The issue is you haven't crossed that line to fortify your immortal self as whole. So your body will be deficient. It will always come up short. You'll always feel it. You are abundant, timeless, endless, limitless, infinite. Once you condition the body and what we call absorbing the riches, you saturate the flesh with this energy, and it's undeniable. Basically, you'll go to sleep and you'll wake up like Stay Puft the Marshmallow Man, because you'll have so much energy. It's like a reset. And you don't have to do anything. You're not thinking about it. You're like, holy fuck, I can't even squeeze my hands. I can't squeeze. I feel like this container of this emanation. And then you just start to move into it, and you'll realize that you have this density that is another layer that you've conditioned yourself in, that it emanates from the body. It starts within the core, and it's saturating all the tissue at a subatomic level. This is so important for all healers to have this type of conditioning, because they tend to spend and double spend, and they get a payday loan on their own energy. And that is a problem.
Yeah.
And there's not enough, and there's a lot to do with how you are really perceiving reality.
Yes.
So it's like everyone goes, "Hey, I'm a healer. I'm an exorcist. I'm fearless." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, show me." And they're like,
Yeah,
and the biggest thing is the fearless part is just more delusion, because until you meet that wet ass hour, and I think maybe I got a lot of it. I went through a lot of it when I was a kid, and it has to do with the physicality aspect. But if I had a penny for how many times someone drew a knife or a gun on me, I'd be a billionaire. And when you look down the barrel of a firearm that's pointed on your forehead, and someone else has the power to squeeze the trigger, you start changing how you perceive reality, how much you're submissive to actually surrendering. You have no control, because that's when you find control.
So, okay, so you have
I'm not
been
suggesting everyone needs to put a firearm to their forehead to find it, but you need to recognize that the delusion is the undulating flame.
Right.
It's elusive. Every time you reach for it, it's gone. And the more you want to control things, the less control you have.
So break that down, because you're saying, we spoke about this before the show, that the fear, you're saying, okay, you think you're fearless, but you're not. So it's really, you have to actually sit in the fear and acknowledge the fear. Is that what you're?
Not exactly. No.
Okay. So
no.
how do I?
So I learned the hard way, in the sense of waking up as a child. I got hit by a car when I was 8. I had a full body, like OBE, NDE, whatever you want to call it. And that was a comeuppance. If I had to condition someone right now, I can show them how to go from first person to third person to no person through a conditioning that doesn't require them to have the living hell scared out of them.
Okay. So you kind of remembered, you had a near-death experience. So you remembered, at 8, you remembered that you were never
Well, I was
anything
dead
but
for 40. I was dead for 40 minutes.
Right. So you already knew who you were when you were 8, which is you're never not whole. You're part of, you are the primordial mother, et cetera, et cetera. But so because I didn't have those experiences, and I've been programmed and conditioned to have
So we
fear
will
of.
continue to condition you, but we're going to condition the fear out of you by using a system that's been around for thousands of years.
Okay, so what's the system? Show me.
The system you enter the breath. The breath is the primordial gateway to manipulating this reality. Be very clear, there's no distortion. I'm not sugarcoating it. Once you master the breath, you master everything. And so you will have complete maestro over the tapestry of the material world. And that comes from a conditioning. And so The amber effect is like when you get to a certain point, you will literally wake up and go to sleep conditioned with this feeling that is beyond anything that you've ever had before. You will be attached to the breath, that you will experience being able to pull the tapestry at will through the breath alone. It saturates instantaneously. Even when I breathe, I feel the full body arousal of an amber of a cigarette. Imagine looking at that, and every time someone drags on the amber, on the cigarette, the amber gets brighter. That's exactly how it is when you condition the body with these ancient practices.
So what are most people getting wrong with breath?
I think they refer to it as work, and it's a big thing. It's like a cult-like thing that everyone is like, it's the breath work. You got to put in the work. It's hard work. Okay, I guess. I don't know. I mean, that's probably why you're living in misery right now.
But it's conscious breathing rather than, yeah. So it's,
what happens when you
but it's
get
not,
to a point,
okay. So when you say, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, when you get to a certain point, the longest time I've been void of breathing physically is 18 minutes. Right?
Wow,
so,
okay.
And that's where you're breathing from consciousness, and what we call bone breathing, where you're breathing beyond the respiratory system, beyond the flesh. This is packing things in. This is the energy, like chemistry, alchemy 101, the power of the juice. It's like, oh, that sounds like you want the power of the juice. Fuck yeah, I want the power of the juice. That's what we're here for. We're here to remember that we are whole, and stop with the fantasy of like, oh, that doesn't happen, because you'll know when you are corrupted, and you'll know when you are whole. When you're whole, you cannot fight the servitude and selflessness. It just is. You will not be able to manipulate a situation that will technically serve your personality. You will instantly accept and allow everything as whole. There are no in-betweens.
That's through breath.
And that is part of you conditioning the alchemy. When you do that, all the emotion and the virtue stuff disappears. It all bleeds back to nothing. And when you enter the primordial mother, which is what would be perceived as a center point void of the duality, the center point turns into everything at once.
Yeah. And so that's through breath.
All things.
That's
through the breath. It's the breath with the exercises that come from specific processes that are imbued with incantation, magical grids, all that kind of stuff is part of that processes. And what happens is people go, well, do you have to imagine? There's no imagination. That is a conjured up personality. All that infrastructure is already available to you. So when I say to you that, like, for example, when I first experienced this 36 years ago, I took it on like I was exercising with an exercise program. So someone goes, hey, you want to get big? I need you to go and lift weights, and you're going to do 5 squats and 10 bench presses and a couple of lat pull downs. That's how I looked at the formula when it was handed to me. A matter of fact, at face value, and I accepted it. It wasn't me going, well, that doesn't hold. That's bullshit. A grid. What is a grid, and how do I do it? If you just recognize that that is already available to you, and it is part of what you're already experiencing, you'll be shocked at how, when you follow, like the exercise I'll give you, you'll follow it and go, holy shit, I'm feeling all these things. These things are actually alive. This is all happening to me now, but I haven't had to conjure with my mind. Visualize the sunshine. I want you to listen to my voice and take you on some guided meditation. That's all nonsense. I hate to break it to most people, because they are creating these things. So when they do that and they get disappointed because they're not able to visualize, they get deflated, and then they get disheartened, and then they recognize that they're deficient, and then their belief system becomes into a knowing, and they experience it over and over again.
Over and over again. Yeah, it's like the nocebo effect. Yeah.
And the experiencer is getting more of the same, because they're getting the same response. So does that make sense?
Exactly. So where does a person begin? Well, let's say with, how does it begin for somebody who's got all these issues and I'm saying, well, they identify with all these issues, right?
Sure.
They
Yeah.
identify with chronic pain, financial issues, they can't find a job, they're this and that. Where's the starting point from a Taoist perspective around returning to the sense of
Right.
selflessness and servitude and is it just the breath? Like, is it?
Well, it's not, when you say just the breath, that is like you are getting the meaning of life and some, and time. You're getting
Okay,
the
so I'm not
key
saying just
to
the breath. I'm
magical
just saying,
city. When
okay,
I say
wow.
just the breath, it's like you access a stream of like power that you never thought existed. So if you've ever
Wow.
drawn on a cigarette, that's what you're experiencing. If you've ever inhaled, you know what it's like to fill your lungs full of air
Hmm.
and it becomes palpable. You attach to that tapestry and you're able to interplay with it at will because the effect is visceral, kinesthetic, somatic. So when I say this, it's like if you're thinking, you are not knowing. If you're knowing, you are feeling, feeling. And that feeling trumps any ridiculous, bankrupt thoughts of the finite mind that repeat over and over again, looking for a different outcome.
So
So go ahead.
so feeling is important. People need to feel.
Well, yeah, because a lot of
Yeah.
people are escaping that, going, I need to be ascended. I am beyond all of this. I don't feel anything. I am Brahman. I am cosmic consciousness. And that's fantastic, but show me, bro. Show me. Show me this
Okay.
amazing state. I sit here in the corner and I'm transmitting. And is everyone looking like, well, I need someone to recognize that I am the all powerful Brahman. And so most of those transmitters, their juice keeps going down. And after a while, they just want to hear anything to say that, like, oh my goodness, that was such an incredible transmission. And it's like, okay, what did it do for you lately? I don't know. My bank account is $50, like in the negative now, because it's a glorified egoic sort of like drill that the transmitter goes through,
Oh,
and
it's like the
they're
guru.
constantly looking. They're looking for the approval. They need someone
Mm.
to tell them, I can't believe you understood all that information about me. I can't believe that you had the power to make me feel this energy and all this. And I mean, that's the part where people need to get over it. It's like, and that's a part where I like to play street magic with my kids. We're out here in Vegas, and we'll go out on the street, and I've taught them a lot of things, everything from pyrokinesis, telekinesis, clairvoyance, remote viewing, all these types of things. But the first thing I started with all of them was understanding the fundamentals of the hypnagogic state. And you need to realize that that's most of the time. When you're channeling, like what you and I do, that is beyond this material state. We are getting direct source information. But to understand that you can slip into a phase of resonance, because that's all it is. So when I walk up to someone in the street, I look unassuming. If I looked at some out of this sort of environment, I'd look like someone who rides a Harley, maybe, I was in a club or something like that. People are like, oh, and I got my kids around me, and I'll walk up to someone who's partying out on the strip, and I'll be like, hey, would you like to experience bliss?
Do you offer
And
that in Vegas?
yeah, because people are they're all tripping. Everyone wants a good time. That's what they're here for. So, there's always some type of scenario where people are gathering for something. So when you walk up to someone unassuming and you go, hey, do you want to experience bliss? And, what I've already done is I've attuned my bandwidth to that resonance. That's already there. It's what I refer to as melting butter level. So I melt butter, I'm turning into that resonance. By the time I walk up to them and I ask, they're already starting to see the systematic physiology where there'll be a rush of blood to the chest, to the throat area. You start to see the side effects. There's a trance-like state. The eyes are kind of glazy. And that's happened before I've even asked them whether they want to experience bliss. And so their friend gets out the camera and they get up and they're like, all right, well, this is why we came here. We got a flight right here where it's party time. We're celebrating Mary Ann's engagement. And as they're setting up and their friend just passes out standing up, they go, oh shit. And I'm like, okay, now what? And they're like, what do you mean now what? Why don't we start with something really fundamental? Like,
So can I
let's
ask
erase
you,
their name, reverse a hallucination from an aspect of I like using Justin Bieber because I'm so far from Justin Bieber, but people freak out. They're like, oh, it's Justin Bieber. I'm like, yeah, baby.
but hang on, San. I'm wondering though, like when you just go up to a random stranger and do that, that sounds kind of almost very egoic that you're just walking around with your superpowers going, I'm going to make you feel bliss. Like, tell me, how does it, where's
Well,
the
that's part of the
ego?
magic. Everyone has the phase. It's like
Okay,
the
okay.
death of the ego. Like I said, my personality is not required for a healing. For me
Yeah.
to entertain myself, I can use all bandwidth at will. It doesn't mean that you're not going to experience a remembrance of healing.
Mm-hmm.
There's three recollections of me experiencing Kundalini masters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Furthermore, in a close examination, those three examples were people that could actually levitate.
Yeah,
Like
wow.
two of them came from Indonesia, and one was one of my students. And people are like, okay, well, Jifu, if you can teach someone, one of your students says levitate, why don't you levitate? Well, first of all, I couldn't give a shit about levitating. You got to remember what moves the needle for you, what excites you
Mm-hmm.
is so very important. This is the driving force because that's a spark of divinity. This is the phase of how you turn out to be a master and a wisdom teacher. It starts with the divinity.
Mm-hmm.
Desire creates inquiry. Inquiry then contemplation. From contemplation to curiosity. Curiosity then forms hopium. It's a very potent humanistic place to be. But that
Mm-hmm.
hopium then creates a belief system. The
Okay.
belief system is then met with knowing only through experience. So a
Yeah.
repeatable experience is how you get from belief system to knowing, but knowing really means nothing unless it can be formed into wisdom. And that
Yeah.
comes from recognizing wholeness, not separation.
So you kind of sidetracked because I was wondering of getting back to the like what's the ego version of in Tao? Like where does the ego fit? Because like I'm saying, like if you've got all these superpowers, which you do clearly, how do you like and you're walking on the Vegas Strip and you're like, okay, I'm gonna make you feel bliss and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Like how
Right.
where does it fit in? Is it kind of like Jesus going
Well,
down? Go ahead.
yeah, well, it moves the needle, right? For me, if you show someone something beyond their version of reality, it puts them into a place of curiosity. How the
Ah,
fuck did that happen?
so
What's the
you're just
purpose?
planting seeds.
You
Okay.
know, and you instantly make someone think, how is that possible? I mean, I've had people experience healings and they literally spend 6 months looking to destroy whatever it is they experience because it goes beyond what they considered their reality.
Hmm.
And that's just part of it. That's part of
So
it. They were already fortified through their own past lifetimes, but their finite mind was so distorted by the fact that they experienced a miracle in their version of miracle that they had to break it somehow.
hmm.
Like they had to destroy what they experienced as wholeness through their own physical healing. They had to break it because they couldn't handle they couldn't intellectually, they never moved past the fact that they already owned the healing. It took place. They were remembering who they were, but they were still intellectualizing stuff.
Okay.
And I'm not here to babysit you. It's like you have that moment. Now go on your own path. It's not about me going, I need to call you up every week and, oh, how are you doing? Are you doing? Please, come on.
So you're just
Snoop
like
Dogg was,
you go off and do your own thing. So what
right.
stops people from healing mostly, do you think?
Well, it's all got to do with the subjective experience.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's it.
And everyone has their. It's just like when people leave their body, technically from astral projection or what people receive as, OBEs, NDEs, whatever you want to call it. There's a phase initially, like you're a little child that gets on a bike for the first time with training wheels. It's generally the same procedure
Hmm.
because it's so powerful what you're experiencing that you have to digest it in a certain way. I left
Hmm.
my body. Oh, look, I could see it. Wow, this is amazing. and then you get to the point where it's the third person view, and then you get to the point where there's a no person view.
Oh.
And then you don't have to, you're not, I'm doing it right now talking to you. I am currently walking around the desert, enjoying the grains of sand and the heat on my feet because I choose to. Now, that is a visceral experience, and it's very vivid. Just like I'm talking to you, if I put my attention to the periphery, it is the desert. It's not the temple. It's not my chamber. This is the desert viewpoint. And it is palpable. It is tangible. When I talk about it, you can feel some event of visceral experience that you're having right now. This is what we call psychokinesis. And it's happening this very moment. And what people can't understand is my eyes are open. I'm looking at you. I'm talking to you. But I'm having a whole nother experience because this is what Nigong does, the internal alchemy, Nidan. Nigong is we are building and fortifying an infrastructure that is independent of your intellect, independent of your finite mind. It happens all the time. So when you're holding a trance, like let's say, for example, like you're talking about, well, isn't that egoic when you go in and show? It's fun. It's fun to go and like show people that they can bliss out, erase their name, turn me into Justin Bieber. These are states of awareness that anyone has access to. You just need to teach them conditioning. And through that lens, it's another language. So what do people call it? They call it hypnosis. That's a very tarnished word. The truth is, it's a state of awareness. We refer to it as spirit projection, Shen Gong. That's what I'm doing. All I'm doing is holding that. So when you merge into it, your physical, basically your physical attributes start to diminish to that resonance, and you are able to then simmer that down. And then, of course, you awaken your own spirit, and that's how we're able to play, because you are now mirroring what I am putting out.
Okay.
And so this is where people would get into what they call a trance.
Yeah.
And so I just shift those trances by the brainwaves that I would like you to experience from my own emanation. And that is a very knowing state that goes to a wisdom experience, because I've done it so many times. There's no question. I already know what I know.
You already know. So what is the role of karma within the Taoist tradition around, it's like you've obviously had many, many, many lifetimes of mastery in this. So for you you had to have that near-death experience at 8. It was all part of a plan. You have to fast track you to get you to be channeling and healing within, and your 7-day dark night of the soul, where other people go through 7 years. It seems that you've mastered this for many lifetimes. So this lifetime was like faster, right?
Yeah.
And so your ability to achieve those states and, and the healing that you're doing, like, are some people not able to ever become, like, I shouldn't say that. What's the word I'm looking for? Are some people not able to achieve those levels because of karma or this lifetime, or their mastery is just not in this lifetime and it's going to happen in another lifetime? Like, how come, like, you're able to do this in this lifetime versus other people?
But
Like,
anyone that follows the system can do it. It's
okay.
just a
Now,
method. It's
now
a method.
You just have
That's
to
it.
show your book now, San. You have to
Right.
tell us about your book.
First and foremost, it's a conditioning. You need to understand this. Like, everything you're experiencing is a subjective conditioning. There is no exception to the rule. So if you want to look, this comes down to the same thing. My dear friend of mine, Tom Campbell, and I came to the same conclusion. Is your glass half empty or full? That's it. Forget about all the rest of this. This is really the wet ass hour at the nuts and bolts of everything. So if you want to just dismiss it all and enter right into a knowing, beyond a knowing, a being, because how I refer to it is your Sherlock to your Watson is understanding the human condition, that you walk through the labyrinth of the finite mind and you come out the other end as a human being, and you're being everything as a whole. Does that make sense?
So you're just constantly, you're just remembering. You're just
You're
remembering that you're
I mean,
home.
it says throwaway is remembering, but I will say this to everybody: you must condition and pour the foundation, or you will be subject to your own deficiencies that you hold in the back of your mind, that you believe no one can ever have access to, and they're your dirty, dark little secrets that you have created.
But
And so
conditioning is through
that's
the mind.
well, the mind is really everything. It's only separate when you refer to mind, body, spirit. And psychology is there to fuck you. That's what it's there for. It's there to go, it's it's your mind, it's not your body, and you don't have control. It's just like anytime I've ever talked to a neurologist or a neuroscientist, they'll claim that there's no possible way that you can feel the third eye, and because it's not sympathetically innervated. I'm like, that's nonsense. Once you activate the 50 trillion cells that you perceive as your flesh and blood that looks back at you in the mirror, all bets are off. You will feel your pinky toe, or you'll feel your third eye, or you'll feel the tip of your ear if you choose to. And that's part of the conditioning of the sensory perception.
Yeah. People are just not
right?
in touch with their body.
And so a lot of people start with, oh, I feel a little bit of energy in my hand. So when you go, hey, well, what's the first thing that you could do to get started, is condition the body to receive as a tuning fork for the energy.
Okay. And all of this is outlined in your book.
Yeah. And it gives you the metaphysics of Tao and the understanding about all the phases. Now, remember, the most potent alchemy for a Taoist, once actualized, is what we call the rhapsody. So we love to create magic with the words. The words are very powerful, and they're layered on. And once you actualize yourself, everything is alive. So that rhapsody. So when people read my books, they're like, oh, it's very poetic. And like, I feel like I'm experiencing something that's outside of what I perceived as reality. Yeah, because it's a living experience. It's an energetic remembrance. And people feel like they're having a full-blown arousal, because that's exactly what they're having. They're like, holy moly. I'm just reading. I just read a paragraph. I couldn't give a shit what he said, but I'm feeling this energy building in me, because that's exactly what's going on. It's being imprinted, and you're getting, as you put it earlier, a transmission from an immortal within the pages of these books is your reflection. So furthermore, the Tao Te Ching that we refer to as the magical register, and I transcribed the Tao Te Ching with Lao Tzu last year, and we have 81 incantations within that Tao Te Ching. If anyone's ever read the Tao Te Ching, there are a million different versions of the Tao Te Ching. This Tao Te Ching is what we refer to as the alchemical sort of like manual. And you read that, and what happens is the incantation is like a mirror. It instantly returns you to whole. So when you read that incantation, you're like, holy shit, I feel like I'm ripping at the seams. The energy is so potent, it's so full. And with each incantation, there's 81 levels of consciousness. There's a frequency, a color, and a shape that correlates with that experience. And you embody that through the instructions at the beginning of the Tao Te Ching. That's why we call it the magical register, because it is.
And what's the title of your book?
Well, that was the Tao Te Ching I transcribed last year.
Oh yeah,
The latest book is The Primordial Mother Crystallized. That's the 350 pages of wonderment and whimsical experiences of how to, and instructional, energetic, cultivational practices. And then the book before that I released like 2 weeks ago is Immortality Crystallized in the Material, which gives you an A to Z of how all these things are conjured up, from concept to consciousness to knowing to unconscious knowing to being.
So amazing. Okay, so where would somebody start if they wanted to just,
Right. First, you want to hit the hammer on the head on the hammer.
I don't know.
What you want to do is you want to lay down and take dominion of self. So first and foremost, the quickest way to do that is to lay down. Your autonomous process will start to take over, because you are in a relaxed state. Everything unravels. It literally rolls off the bone. So if you want to take charge of yourself immediately, you you lay down because it has a mechanistic response, right? So lay down, and then you want to start with something as simple as breathing in and breathing out. I would suggest that you start with an inhale of 9 seconds, hold for 3 seconds, and exhale of 3 seconds. This is the beginning phase. What you want to build up to is an inhale of 9, an exhale of 9, and a hold of 9. So it would be inhale of 9, hold of 9, exhale of 9. And what will be the first attributes of that experience is, because people are not conditioned enough, they start to feel certain things in certain parts of the body. We call this the Bai Hui. These are called Lao Gong points. These are entry levels. And the feet and hands are the first evidence that you start to recognize this energy potential.
Oh yeah,
and
you can get
this
that
will
real
instantly start to feel that. Like you and I talking right now, when we play with the energy, you can feel the energy in your body now. And you're in Australia and I'm here in Las Vegas, baby. This is what we call psychokinesis, right?
Yeah.
This is a very potent thing, you know.
Woo! Woo! You're going to turn into Justin Bieber for me today. No.
Yes.
So how long does one do this breath work for?
Well, you just start to see you start accumulating stuff instantaneously. Your hands will activate. And the first thing I want someone who's a initiate on this practice is to, once you've done the breathing, do a cycle of about 9 cycles of that breath, 9, 9, 9. And then at the end of the last breath of the exhale, then you hold for 9 seconds. That's the pinnacle part. So you're going to inhale for 9, hold for 9, exhale for 9, then hold for 9 again. And then
at the end of the 9 cycle, or no, or just
at the end of the 9 cycle.
At the
first you prime the body, and then the last one is like the extra hold. So it's inhale, hold, exhale, hold. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, shit, you're getting a charge. You're like, I'm getting a charge immediately. How is that possible? And then you'll start to recognize a robust density between the hands. And, you just start with a palpation of it. And you go, oh, holy shit, this is dense.
Wow.
And this is real. And then, we can go through, spirit entities. I can take Latsu and run them through your body, and you can feel an immortal inside the physical body and all that kind of good shit. But it comes with experience. And so, when you get people that go, I don't feel anything, well, activate them. Stop sitting there and going, oh, my ego got so beaten down because I know I'm the next coming of Jesus, but they said they don't feel anything. And this is the very problem with healers. They get caught up in, I need the accolades. If I don't get them, I'm not whole. I'm deficient. Because I had 10 people that told me I was amazing, and this one person went, I don't feel anything, bro. And that literally pulls the rug out of someone who might have been humming along for one healing after another. And the second someone discounts their potency, they're broken. They're like, they're completely broken. And there's nothing more potent than reaching in to touch someone. They're like, how dare you? I have parameters. You can't invade my personal space. Listen, you are me, I am you. If you don't like that, you don't like that. That's okay. But they will feel the energy. And people are, that's not very nice of you to do that. It's like, wholeness is wholeness. I'm not looking to go in and poke around and play with whatever. When I resonate, you will have 2 side effects from your dualistic perspective. You're going to love me or you're going to hate me, because that's what you're subject to. That's what you're subject to. That's all you right at this moment. Your tango of symbiosis from that one stream is a good or bad response. That's how people operate. Until otherwise noted, you know what you know, you don't know what you don't know. That's just part of the experience.
So that breath work is the same breath that you were talking to me about to help build my architecture. It's the exact same breath work, and it's lying down.
Well, it's, yeah, I mean, we've got 1,000 different breath work. I have 0 breath work.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say the word work. It's not right, just breath practices.
It's respiration, and it's actually a conditioning for the mother. and that's where you are
Ah,
whole, right?
yeah.
So that will be, I know Peggy's going to get off this thing and go, screw the rest of the day. I'm sitting here getting high. That's what I'm doing.
I don't have got such a
You know?
busy day, actually.
Right. And so I'll send you a process of what will be appropriate for you
Oh, I see.
to
Okay.
dissolve what is necessary. But people need to start somewhere. You're
Hmm.
already sensitive. You're already energetically very sensitive. So that's not the problem. I'm just trying to kickstart someone that goes, I didn't feel anything. But in
Yeah.
about seconds, they're
Oh,
going to
I see.
instantly
Oh,
go,
I
oh,
see.
here we
Yeah.
go. But quite frankly, something as simplistic as that conditioning will bear a lot of fruit, and it will only end when you say it does, because
Mm-hmm.
you are the operating system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that you starting with the respiration for people.
Right.
It just goes back to just, yeah, what we're here when with the very first thing we do when we arrive is we take a breath, right? You know, as a avatar in this little body. The very first thing, and then we are human, and we have forgotten that. You know, it's quite and to help us return to where we are, where we've never lost it, we're always part of. It's through breath. That's actually quite beautiful.
But people dismiss it because it's like, that's not a miracle. Giving birth to a child is very boring. It's like, really, it's just like, that in of itself is another miracle, creating life.
Mm,
It's a very potent thing and
mm,
it reminds you of how absolutely magical life is, and how much of
mm.
an
Yeah.
incredible gift of this power and potency that you can generate that from nothing.
Wow. Well, I'm going to have you on again, San, because we have so much. I could talk to you for hours, but we both have been here for a while now, so I'm gonna. But what would you like to leave the audience with, or what would you like to? I mean, I'm going to put all your stuff in the show notes about how to buy
Yeah,
your book,
yeah,
and what else would you
yeah.
like to leave the audience with?
Well, let's tap into a little bit of Rhapsody. Let's go with it, right? The simmering effect of the emerald night sky as it draws into a pool of surrender, as your heart opens, as it beats into the pain of forgotten memories of the past. You will draw into that evidence, and that essence will be shown to you through the power of your mind that reminds you that your body is impermanent, that you have more to yourself than this very moment. Breathe in and breathe out, and find that tender state, that fragile state, that innocent state within the beating of your heart. And there we have it. And it didn't have any light language. No.
We didn't talk about light
But
language,
that
but
power, right? That power, as you feel that build, it's happening right now. Heads
definitely.
up, heads up. And that is a full-blown experience. And just through me drawing on that tapestry, you're experiencing the visceral effects, because
Hmm.
we're altering the material right now.
Hmm. Yeah, I still can't get rid of my glasses, but that's coming.
You can't, but the all-knowing
Ah.
primordial mother, as
Hmm.
you truly are, an eternal immortal self,
Hmm. Yeah.
forever, forever.
Hmm. Well, maybe
This
one
is
day you
again
will.
another tool.
I look forward to speaking to you next time, and you'll just be in
Yeah.
focus when I have no glasses on. That would be
Yes, yes,
when my
yes.
architecture is solid and my breath work is, yeah, we're gonna have to have part two because I'd really love to speak to you more. And this has been amazing. I've really enjoyed our energy exchange. Well,
Yeah.
I feel like I've just had this transmission, which has been amazing. I feel expanded. I have learned a lot, and I really hope that our audience can get started on that breath respiration 9999. Interesting number. And
Definitely go and check out my website,
yes,
immortaltaoistrights.com, or
mhm.
furthermore, theway126.com, which is an app that takes you from a zero to a hero if you choose to. If you want to just get rid of the rest of this stuff and you want to bathe in an immortal transmission, which is what Latsu did with that particular digital offering, you hit play, you realize you feel like you've had 8 pina coladas, a full body massage in 10 days in the Bahamas. That is a side effect of visual, audible experience creating a kinesthetic charge. So there you go, a little plug there.
That's cool. That's cool. That's very cool. I love that. Yeah, it'll all be in the show notes, all the links, everything. Yeah, I can't thank you enough for your time, because I know you've been busy and it took a while to get this show, this time slot happening with our time differences, but we did it, Sam. So thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate you, and reunited.
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? Thank you, Master San. Thank you.